¿Qué tal todos? ¿Cómo están? Quiero compartir con ustedes una entrevista, o más bien una reunión que tuvo un amigo mío en Carolina del Norte, ah, que conocí en línea por medio del canal de YouTube EXJW Analyzer, y el cual, eh, por casualidad, yo terminé viendo el año pasado. Ah, Usualmente, desde que yo salí de la secta, no me he asociado con con nadie testigo de Jehová o con ex testigos de Jehová, desde que salí de la secta. Ah, pero por casualidad, un día estaba viendo YouTube y en la lista de recomendaciones salió un video, el cual puse play y me empiezo a ver ah, canales de ex testigos de Jehová, por ejemplo, EXJW Analyzer y John Cedars, ¿ok? Donde empiezo a notar que todo lo que yo tenía dudas sobre la organización no era el único. Entonces, debido a esto, yo también hice un acercamiento a los ex testigos que van a ver en el video. Bueno, no se ve en el video, pero lo pueden ver en el canal de EXJW Analyzer, donde van a ver a Diaces, a John y Jimmy teniendo una conversación sobre la visita que le hacen a Jimmy a su casa, un anciano y un superintendente del circuito, debido a que como él ha estado faltando a las reuniones porque se ha estado despertando de esta mentira, lo visitan para aconsejarlo y él los enfrenta, obviamente, con las preguntas que le han llevado a las dudas de esta secta. Um, la reunión obviamente es en inglés. Se me ha dado el permiso de pasarla en mi canal y obviamente he trabajado en el subtítulo para que la comunidad de Latinoamérica o habla hispana se dé cuenta que los líderes de esta secta saben exactamente lo que han hecho y el engaño que le han dado a la comunidad de los testigos de Jehová. Ahora, espero que les guste el video, pongan sus comentarios. eh, yo también voy a estar pasándole este video a EXJW Analyzer para que lo transmita con los subtítulos en español a los que están suscritos a su canal. La meta es que esto llegue a la mayor cantidad de personas alrededor del mundo para que vean la realidad de esta secta. Si quieren, pueden suscribirse a mi canal. Si no quieren, no importa. Ah, Sería bueno que lo hicieran, debido a que cuando hay algo que realmente impacta en la comunidad, a mí me gusta hacer un video y compartirlo. Porque honestamente esta secta es una secta destructiva de familias y todos somos víctimas de esta organización que afecta a cada individuo que pertenece a la organización y a cada miembro de familia que tiene a un familiar dentro de esta organización. Porque como técnica de control de la vida de los individuos, el aislamiento a la unión únicamente de asociación a los miembros es perjudicial para las personas que están adentro. Espero que les guste esta entrevista. Si tienen preguntas, pueden hacerlas en los comentarios. Y si quieren, pueden también irse a la página web de EXJW Analyzer, de su canal de YouTube, y ver el video entero de los comentarios originales que ellos hacen al respecto de este video. Espero que les guste.
Might as well get right into it.
I'll tell you before you get started.
I might not even have the answers for you right after.
That's fine. That's fine.
I'll do my best. And if I can't get you an answer now, I'll look into it.
That's all I want, because I mean, honestly, truly, up until December, let me rephrase that. I want what I've been taught to be true.
Mm-hmm.
If it's true, I move forward with that.
Mm-hmm.
If something's not true and it doesn't make sense to me, it makes it very difficult for me to go forward.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, so, and I don't expect you guys to have the answers, because I know that when we're out in field service and someone asks us a question, hey, I'll look that up and I'll get back with you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I completely understand that.
Yeah.
So, but I guess the first thing I wanted to address that I've not been able to get an answer for is the Watchtower's involvement with the UN from 92 to 2001. Do you guys know anything about that?
Well, I know that, to be honest with you,
Yes. Yeah, please.
we're still involved with the UN.
Wow. Why?
Well, I'll give you an example. I worked in the legal department at Bethel,
Okay.
and we had a convention in Kazakhstan, 2017, summer 2017. And 2 weeks before the convention, the Kazakhstan government breaks into the branch there, guns a-blazing. I mean, not firing, but machine guns, whole 9 yards. Show of force, heavily influenced, obviously, by the old Soviet Union, as you can imagine. And we're about to send, I don't know, 2,500 delegates into that country.
Right.
You know, and so that's a lot of money that we're going to infuse into a small little country, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And so we talked to UN ambassadors. We needed to make sure that if we're vouching for the safety. Like this year, we have how many international conventions?
There's several.
20.
So, for example, Sister Matthews and her daughter are at a convention
In Brazil.
in Brazil. We had to vouch for their safety. I mean, imagine, if I said, if I sent you, we're out in the territory, right, and we're in Charlotte, and I sent you into a bad neighborhood, right, all by yourself.
Yeah, I'm being.
Yeah. I mean, there would
understand.
be a responsibility on my part. So yeah, to a certain extent, we have involvement with government,
Well, I appreciate that.
And the United Nations.
You're the first person that I've talked to that's actually come out and said something like that, and I can understand the safety issues. And of course I did, when I found that out, of course I wanted to, oh my goodness, what is this? Let me do some research. And then I just found out that they were listed, they joined the UN in 92 as an accredited NGO. And being an accredited NGO means that they have to pretty much back up what the UN is teaching or promoting.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
And the reason that I found out the Watchtower's reason for that was they said that they needed to have access to the UN library.
Oh, yeah.
So that right there, that kind of, I didn't know about the whole, what you just told me, but that's what I was told or that's what I found out. That and the sketchy thing was, October 8th of 2001, in the Guardian newspaper out of England, it actually said that Jehovah's Witnesses were involved with the UN. And then on the very next day, Watchtower canceled their membership. And that kind of looks like you got your hand stuck in the cookie jar. But as a rank and file witness, it just kind of looks bad because, during the...
I'll say this.
Go ahead.
There's probably been no bigger organization that exposes the UN and false religion and governments today than Jehovah's People. I mean, that's why 170-some thousand of them are under ban in Russia right now.
Yeah, I understand that.
And never for drawing a gun or for protesting.
Right.
Just for exposing. As a matter of fact, I mean, even in the 40s, right? I mean, we predicted the UN would exist. No one else did.
Right.
And you don't have to go to any website to check that. That's just common knowledge that, we knew the League of Nations would go and they would rise again.
Yeah.
They came out on the United Nations. And of course, we identify the United Nations with the beast and the book of Revelation. That they're part
See,
of,
that's what was...
they're part of Satan's system of things.
That's what really bothered me, though, because, during the 90s, we studied the Revelation book 3 times, and we were, told that the UN is part of Satan's system.
Yeah.
And so it's like, why did we get involved? We're not supposed to vote.
Mm-hmm.
We're not supposed to get involved in any political... We're supposed to stay neutral.
Well, and that's what that means. What did you call the acronym for?
NGO, accredited NGO, non-governmental organization.
Right, non-governmental organization. So, like if I had to apply, if I wanted to go to a court somewhere that was a closed court, like a Supreme Court, I would have to find a way legally to be there. I'd either have to be a representative or on a committee seeing what's going on there. So in order for us to have access to what's going on all over the world and just sit and listen to what's happening and send representatives, there has to be a way that you would have to apply for that. Me and you can walk into the UN and watch their meetings.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. So it makes sense to me just from that viewpoint. I don't know about the legality of helping other friends.
And see,
but
and that's fine. Those that are educated enough to know those legal things, they can understand that. But for your everyday pioneer, publisher, they don't know that stuff.
they don't know it, and
So
I'm sure the branch...
So all they see is Watchtower tied in with the UN.
I've never heard anybody say that, though. You're the first person I've ever heard say that.
There's a lot of people that have.
But
Really?
even at that, and even with that being said, the old Gilead classes, they would tour the UN.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder how many witnesses know what you just told me, that they were still involved with the UN right now.
Well, they talk to their ambassadors there, because we're larger. You have to understand that Jehovah's Witnesses, if we were a sovereign state, we'd be top 100 in the world.
Oh yeah, I've actually done the math on that.
Yeah. So I mean, we're bigger than Switzerland, and I mean, so we have a lot of interest, in a lot of countries. So yeah, we're chronicled as far as how we fight in the European Court of Human Rights, how we fight in the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
We prefer not to go that route, because we basically just win in those cases. I mean, we never lost in front of the Supreme Court except for once.
Right.
And the Supreme Court retracted their own decision.
Right.
That's embarrassing. We try to save them embarrassment.
But can you see why? Can you see why it just looks bad?
No, I don't.
To someone that doesn't know the legal stuff.
But to me, it would be different if they were making decisions with the UN, but to lobby for help from the UN it's the same thing as you walking up to, again,
Right.
a Supreme Court judge saying, I need you to help me in this case.
Mm-hmm.
This is wrong.
Or even
You have to have an opening.
Yeah.
Or
Even a government. We petition governments. Matter of fact, the Bible even tells us to pray for them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, of course.
So that our work can go in. So our work can go in peace.
Yeah.
So really, that's kind of aligned with the scriptures that we should try to work with them, and if we're even praying for them, according to Timothy.
Well, that gives me a different.
Their relative position.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And those positions are put in they're put in those positions of power, or allowed to be in those positions of power by Jehovah God.
Right.
Right. And so.
All right. Well, that gives me some food
But
for thought.
as far as that extra stuff, I can't speak on that. What was the NGO?
It was they were listed as an accredited NGO, and you have to look at what an NGO is supposed to do for the UN. And then the whole removing their membership a day after the article came out, that just kind of looks sketchy. I mean, be honest.
And I'll be honest too. I'd have to know the credit on that.
Yeah.
You have to
Check it out.
Look at the viability.
If you want to get back with me on it, that's cool.
No, I just kind of feel that the organization is transparent. I mean, you can go onto the Watchtower online library or any of our devices, and you can look at all the beliefs that we've we were wrong about.
Right.
I mean, we have videos that admit how wrong we were on things. You know, we are not infallible.
Well, yeah, I was going to touch on that in a second.
I think both of us would be the first one to admit that.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, there's been mistakes, absolutely.
And even when they change some things that we don't understand the benefit for, we, in our mind, are like, oh man, how is this going to go over?
Yeah.
But then 2 or 3 years later, we're like, that's the best thing that's ever happened.
Right.
Absolutely.
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
All right.
So with that, I guess, you know, I guess, you know, I don't even know if I would have to research those things, just because, you know, I know that we're going to petition any secular authority on behalf of Jehovah's people.
Right.
You know, and I don't personally believe that we would have an involvement with the UN where we're padding their coffers or anything like that. I mean, there's no one that is a bigger, I don't want to say critic, but that paints the UN for what the Bible describes them as than Jehovah's people. I don't even know if they want our money. I mean, you know, that'd be like Duke fan donating to North Carolina, or North Carolina donating to Duke.
One thing that I did find out, and this might be something you could look at just to set my mind at ease, is that when you do become an accredited NGO, you need to speak nicely of the UN. And if you look back in some of the articles in the 90s in the Watchtower, there was positive remarks made about the UN. I don't have them in front of me right now, but if need be, I could show them to you and you could help me out with it and say, hey, Jimmy, this is what the society meant on this.
From my experience, I mean, the Revelation book, which came out in the 80s, and we studied it 3 times in the 90s, was the biggest blast on the UN of any publication that's probably ever come out.
Well, see, that's why it was so shocking to me to find out what I did.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wow, because I didn't know all the legal stuff to it. Mm-hmm. But, so, all right.
Yeah. That's just one example. And like I said, I can't speak to all those things, nor do I know the legalities of it. But I do know that these government facilities, these governments themselves are put into place to protect human rights.
Yeah.
I mean, in the 70s, I'll give you an example. I'm not sure how old you were when you came into the truth.
I'm 46, and I know the history.
Okay. And, you know, you couldn't, we couldn't be in the same building as a black person.
Oh, yeah.
You know, as a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, so there's been a lot of legalities, legal fights that we had to go down, you know?
Right.
And we appealed to Caesar, just like Paul did.
Yeah. Okay.
He appealed to Caesar, too, as a Roman citizen.
So, all right, well, that helps me out a little bit on that one. I appreciate that. The other issue that I have is I've never been able to have kids. Mm-hmm. And so I have a soft spot when it comes to kids. Thank goodness now I have youngins running around the house all over the place because of being married to my wife. We've got grandkids. I've got 8 of them now. I've had 2 since I last seen you guys.
Oh, yeah.
But there seems to be a problem with child abuse in the organization. Mm-hmm. That's very disheartening. And I have actually looked at the Shepherd the Flock of God book. I've seen it, read it. And the one thing that it caused me some concern was, if there is an allegation of child abuse, the first thing that the elders are supposed to do is call the branch. Mm-hmm. To me, I'd be on the phone with the police. So I'm wondering, why doesn't the organization direct the elders? If there is an allegation of child abuse, why don't they call the police?
Well, there's a lot of legalities in that. Have you studied the Watchtower for this Sunday or next?
Yeah.
I've actually not seen this week. Those
all about child sexual abuse.
All of it, both articles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to go back and read that.
Yeah.
Because what I found out was,
I'll say this about child sexual abuse. We abhor it. We try to protect our children. In some states, they've changed these laws. You don't have to report it.
But wouldn't that be protecting somebody that did something to a kid?
I would agree.
That's not cool.
But here's the thing. But here's the thing. Whose law do you have a problem with now? Do you have a problem with man's law because it's not a self-report? Australia, you could have a sex with a child if you want to, and there's no report in Australia.
Well, obviously, because when the Australian Royal Commission came out, there was over 1,006 cases.
Whose problem do you really have?
I have a problem with anybody that's harming a child.
I do too.
Or allowing it to happen.
I know.
Or covering it up.
Yeah, and so I have 19 nephews and nieces.
Yeah.
And my wife is one of 6 girls. I have a brother and a sister. We have 19 nephews and nieces. I've got a problem with that too. There's bad guys in every organization, including Jehovah's, including, you know.
Well, see, and you're pretty cool to talk to. That's
you have
what
someone that comes out of prison. They get the word of God in prison, right? You know, they were a convicted child molester. They have a problem with that. It's something that usually it's very tough to kick, you know.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of articles about keeping your child safe. Your
Absolutely.
child.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, and again, for the regular folks, it just looks bad because, you know, in the 70s and the 80s, Watchtower articles came out blasting the Catholic Church. You know, really putting them in a bad light for pedophilia.
Oh, sure.
And then
look up the numbers in the Catholic Church. The 1,006 you mentioned in Australia. You know, look up how many numbers the Catholic Church.
Oh yeah, it's and that's the thing.
How about like in the Portland Archdiocese in Portland, Oregon? They have over 300 cases of child sexual abuse there. So, just in that Archdiocese, you know, there's bad everywhere, no doubt about it. You know.
And it just seems like they're. And just please don't take anything I say the wrong way because I'm just searching for answers. But like with the 2-witness rule, if a child comes to you guys and says, "Hey, this guy touched me," it's not considered a sin because there wasn't another witness. Or you see what? Am I right on that? It wasn't another witness to view the child abuse happening. So if no one was there to witness, it didn't happen.
So you're saying we wouldn't report that?
That's what it looks like.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that, you're incorrect.
Yeah. On what?
You're incorrect on that.
Okay.
So, we protect children. We actually have higher standards in the government, you know, on that. But I will say that, theocratically, yeah. Are there certain things in place? Sure. Absolutely. You know, can we theocratically go after someone? But listen, if you had a child, and we found out that your child comes up to you and says, you know, my neighbor or my relative molested me, the first thing we would tell you is you have a right to call the authorities.
Well, yeah, I would.
We would tell you that right away.
Yeah.
Before, we would call the branch. Yeah. So now, those are just a few things there.
I guess my other underlying thing on that is I've always believed that Holy Spirit and Jesus keep the congregation clean. So when that stuff happens, it kind of puts into question.
Well, can I share a scripture with you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's 2 Thessalonians. So here's the congregation, right? Thessalonica.
Just read about them.
So 2 Thessalonians, chapter 2. Paul speaking. Here's a governing body member, right? So this is Brother Lett, Brother Morris. Actually, you know, we probably put more weight in Paul since he wrote 14 books of the Bible. Do you want to read verse 2?
Says not to be quickly shaken from your reason, nor to be alarmed, either by an inspired statement, or by a spoken message, or by a letter appearing to be from us, to the effect that the day of Jehovah is here.
Yeah, and then it was verse 3.
Let no one lead you astray in any way, because it will not come unless the apostasy comes first, and the man of lawlessness gets revealed, the son of destruction.
So way back then, you know, 1900 years or so, what was happening inside the congregation?
And it looked like there were some folks that were saying some stuff that wasn't true.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, You just said, don't be alarmed by what? And inspired.
Don't be alarmed either by an inspired statement.
What does that mean to you?
That would actually mean that if something was spoken by the apostles and they had the inspiration from Jehovah, not to be alarmed by that.
Okay. So let's go to 1 John 4, verse 3. We'll see if there could be an inspired statement of truth. Can there be one that's not an inspired statement?
Okay.
1 John 4, verse 3.
But every inspired statement that does not acknowledge Jesus does not originate with God. Furthermore, this is the Antichrist inspired statement that you have heard was coming, and now it is already in the world.
So, can an inspired statement always come from Jehovah's organization, according to this verse?
According to the scripture, it says, but every inspired statement that does not acknowledge Jesus.
Oh. So an inspired statement can come from who, according to that verse, besides Jesus and his organization?
It could come, well, it says does not originate with God, so it could be somebody else.
Yeah.
Saying they have an inspired statement.
So it mentions there, furthermore, this is the Antichrist inspired statement, right? So, and then if you look at the verse before it, right? This is how you know that the inspired statement is from God. Every inspired statement that acknowledges Jesus Christ as having come in the flesh originates with God. Verse 1. Beloved ones, do not believe every inspired statement, but test the inspired statements to see whether they're with God. So
it says, for many false prophets have gone out into the world.
And so, what I would encourage, and I'm speaking real to you, what I would encourage is wherever you're getting your information from, if it's having a positive effect on your spirituality, or it's having a negative effect on your spirituality.
Now that you said that, and we're talking about inspiration, I found something in the Watchtower, and I just found this the other day. It's from the Watchtower, Awake, number 3, 2017. And one thing that I always try to do is when I look up information, I use the Watchtower material. Mm-hmm. I mean, I go back in the Watchtower library, and that's what I use. Mm-hmm. I don't go and look for apostate material. Mm-hmm. Okay? So right here in the Watchtower, it just says inspired. What does it mean? Simply stated, the expression inspired of God means the source of the information in those writings is God. Okay. So, the question before that, but if the Bible was written by men, how can it be inspired of God? And then the answer, simply stated, the expression inspired of God means it's the source. Right. Okay. So, with that being said, to be inspired means that you're getting the information from Jehovah. Mm-hmm. Correct?
Yes, which the Bible is inspired of God.
Right. Okay. I'm on a train here.
Okay.
The Watchtower, February 2017, the study article, Who is Leading God's People? Mm-hmm. It says, who really is the faithful and discreet slave? Mm-hmm. Paragraph 12, the governing body is neither inspired nor infallible.
Yes.
Now,
I agree.
The reason I have a problem with that is we just found out that inspiration says the source comes from God. Mm-hmm. So if the governing body is admitting that they're neither inspired nor infallible, I get the nor infallible. We're all imperfect humans. I get that. Mm-hmm. But when it says it's neither inspired, the governing body is neither inspired. Mm-hmm. That means if they're not inspired, according to the definition of inspiration in the Awake magazine, means that source would come from Jehovah. If they're not inspired, they're not getting it from him. Well, please correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I will say that where do all of our publications, what are they based on?
Should be the Bible.
Right. And is the Bible inspired?
The Bible is inspired.
There you go. So the governing body, in Matthew chapter 24, verses 45 through 47, are they called the inspired, faithful and discreet slave? Or what are they called?
The faithful and discreet slave.
So what is required of them? To be inspired or to be faithful and discreet?
Faithful and discreet.
That's what. And who wrote Matthew 24?
Matthew.
Yeah, yeah. And who said the words? Jesus Christ,
Right.
Son of God. So the King of God's kingdom expects the governing body to be to demonstrate what two qualities? To be faithful
Mm-hmm.
and to be discreet.
But doesn't...
To be perfect or to be inspired? Well, that's why God gave us the Bible. That's what we should. That's what we should.
That's kind of breaking it down. Everything that, like, if you've got to test it, what do you test it with? The Bible.
Right.
So those men are sitting up there testing their decisions because they know the Bible directly. That was like Jehovah writing it down on paper because those men were directly inspired by him. But them making decisions, sometimes it takes time, and even Jesus said that the light would be brighter, that they would come to know things more. So the reason they can't be completely like the scriptures is because that means they would make no mistakes, right?
Well, yeah, I mean... Well, see, that's what I was having a conversation with my mom yesterday, and I was like, Mom, I don't understand this because the Bible is inspired. It's God, we know that the Bible was inspired.
Oh, sure.
Have no problem with that.
Yeah.
The Bible's never changed.
Mm-mm.
However, my mom said, well, this is Jehovah's organization. Okay, Mom, if this is Jehovah's organization, Jehovah never changes. Why are there so many changes in the organization?
Well, think about Sodom and Gomorrah, though. How did Abraham feel about those people when they were getting ready to be destroyed?
He said that there was, hey, please don't kill them if there's like 50 people, 10 people, 5 people.
And what happened with Jonah when he went to Nineveh?
Oh, he thought that they were going to kill him.
They were done.
Yeah.
No, they were done, though. He was
that's right. Die. He was ready for them to be destroyed.
Die.
Yeah, he was mad because he didn't get destroyed. Yeah.
The principles in the Bible didn't change, but could have Nineveh been destroyed?
Could have been.
If they didn't repent, they would have been destroyed. That was it. Their day was coming. So does Jehovah change? No, his principles don't. Does his way of handling people change? Sometimes.
And it's always
in all
balanced.
circumstances.
And it's always balanced with all of his qualities. For example, David killed a man, slept with his wife, then killed a man.
Yeah.
Covered it all up. What's the penalty underneath the law of Israel?
Death.
Yeah. Why? So you're saying Jehovah changed then? Because he didn't kill him. Or the reality is that Jehovah can balance all of his qualities perfectly in a way that we can't completely understand at times. And why is that? Because when I look at you, Bill, I can't read your heart exactly, Just like you can't read Shane's or you can't read mine.
Right.
We're just skin and bone and flesh and blood and,
And those anointed ones are the same.
And I think the older I get, I figure out the less I know.
Only I can believe.
I mean, it's like it's sometimes that way. Because you know what? We realize the older, when you're young, you think you got it all figured out. The older you get, you realize that there's a lot more to life than you've been able to get to in your life. But I'll just say that the Jehovah's organization, while they are not perfect, they've always been honest. They have not claimed to be inspired. They believe the Bible is the inspired word of God, and they base their decisions off that. But even with that, if you want to do interesting research on the Dead Sea Scrolls. Because you mentioned the Bible hasn't changed, and honestly, I'm going to have to frankly disagree with you.
Okay.
100%. Because if you read the King James Bible, how about this? Do you believe in unicorns?
No.
Are you
But
sure?
the unicorns are listed in the Bible. But I think they were described as another. They weren't described. I think they were describing something else than a flying horse with a horn in his
If
head.
you read the Bible for the very first time, most
says
popular Bible out there,
It
King
says unicorns.
James,
Yeah.
8 times.
Yeah.
You know?
It does.
So the Bible promotes unicorns, then, is what you're saying. If you're just a layman, if
Yeah,
you're not raised around the truth,
Yeah.
Yeah. I can.
You're the
I
priestly
the Bible-
class.
so the Bible has changed.
Yeah.
Not in the essence of it hasn't, but the Bibles that we know have changed because we didn't even have access to the Dead Sea Scrolls up until the full Dead Sea Scrolls until the early 90s.
Right.
You know, our first version of the Bible, the complete Bible, came out in what, 60, 61? You know, and that's why we've had to revise it a few times, because we get these new scrolls. We find out, oh man, we should put Jehovah's name in the Bible 6 more times. You know, so the Bible hasn't changed, but our translations of it have, because we have more accurate information now.
What in the world?
I guess
No comparison.
I mean, that's why, right now I got me a little.
Can I be blunt with you?
Yeah.
Well, I don't care about a beard. I mean, you can have a beard if you want a beard.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because the Bible doesn't prohibit it.
Yeah, I don't really care
No,
about a
the
beard.
Bible doesn't talk about that.
Yeah.
But we can't have privileges, though, if we have a beard.
It
Well,
just depends on where you're
Where you
at.
live, yeah.
It totally is up to
So if I had a beard and I came to the congregation, could I have privileges?
no,
No?
not in this area. But you
Well,
know,
let me ask
if you
a
were
question.
in,
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
So,
I'm just curious.
why did Jehovah have the Israelites have a beard?
So they could be a different identifying mark to other people.
Oh, okay.
There you
And in Egypt, all the magic practicing priests, what did you recognize about them in the Bible storybook?
And they had beards.
Mm-hmm.
I think, hold on.
You got a Bible storybook?
I do. Oh, do I have the old one?
So
No, I don't
all
have the old
clean
one.
shaven heads, remember?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
So isn't it
The
interesting?
Egyptians were always.
Isn't it interesting?
But in today's time, beards are not looked upon like that.
Yeah, I understand. You know,
They have a stigma of following the trend of the world in our area.
But see, what I found
Just in our
out,
area.
was the beginning of the beard situation and why it was put in place in the organization.
Yeah.
And that was the fact that Rutherford had a problem with it, and because he was trying to distance everybody from kind of following Russell, and so there was
So what you're saying is that Rutherford wasn't perfect.
oh, definitely not. He wasn't.
Okay.
But the thing is he put things in place, even with him not being perfect. Cool. He put things in place that we
Big
still
difference.
do today.
Big difference, though.
Yeah.
At that point in time, Russell, Rutherford, Noor, what were they?
Presidents.
Oh, there's a difference. He was the president of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society.
I don't know his name. He was he's the black guy that gave a part. He's listed as the president,
Not anymore.
but there's a governing
The most
body.
recent, he
recent.
turned 80. He's
Okay.
actually Brother Corcoran now.
Okay, yeah, I knew there was still one there,
Legal
but
entity, just because it's a corporation that we're forced to have,
Right.
But, now we don't.
wait, we're a
Is that-
corporation?
Oh, absolutely.
Always have been. Yeah.
It is a corporation.
Yeah. Incorporated.
Yeah.
You have to legally to exist as an entity. You have to be incorporated.
I didn't know
Watchtower Bible Tract and Tract Society Incorporated. That's all of our
We
old
list it in
stuff.
front of everyone. In order for us to have,
So aren't corporations businesses?
no.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's a difference.
Charities
There's a
have to be
non-profit.
incorporated.
There's a non-profit.
Yeah.
And a for-profit organization.
Right.
Out there. So we're non-profit.
Right.
Yeah. But here's the
Interesting.
here's the real. Well, that's why we have an annual meeting. That's even a congregation.
That's actually a business model.
Yeah.
Because we have annual meetings for Aflac.
we have to do that.
You have to legally.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm learning something new. I'm learning something new today.
But here's the thing. And I'm just gonna ask you, and I'm only asking you out of. I feel like that we can speak freely with one another.
Absolutely.
So how would you feel like you're doing as far as getting to meetings?
Oh, here lately, it's been pretty scarce. I've been going up to Virginia to help my mom and dad.
Sure.
They're
Family
older.
responsibility, totally agree.
And when the summer hits, you see 4.5 acres here, and you see how much weed eating I haven't been able to get to.
Yeah.
So I've been very, very swamped
Sure,
with
sure.
a lot of stuff here.
How about your ministry?
I do a little bit of informal witnessing, but have not been active in the regular ministry.
What I would really encourage you, this is just me, and I feel like I can back it up scripturally, is to get back into a good spiritual routine. Remember we're told to exercise our faith, right? And so when you exercise a muscle, what happens?
It gets stronger.
And when you don't?
It gets weak, flabby,
Yeah.
turns
right.
into fat.
It goes the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of going this way, it's going this
Gravity
way,
has
right?
a tendency
Yeah.
to work on it, yeah.
So spiritually can happen the same. That's all I'm trying to say. And I'm not trying to tell you where you're at, but I know that if you're not, you've heard about the great spiritual temple, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Hebrews 10, verse 24 and 25, do not forsake to gather. That's our spiritual temple. That's it. It's where we get fed by Jehovah. Are we perfect? Are you going to have brothers that sometimes, or a sister that sometimes says something insensitive? Sure. Absolutely. That's why we're called brothers and sisters.
Yeah, that was really upset about that situation last week, or when it was, because I was literally asking questions, telling the brothers how devastated I was, and then I go in to get this, and
it's fine.
but I was recording the conversation, and then when I went in, and I can pull it up, but when I went in and came back out, and after I listened to the recording, those brothers were calling me an apostate. Oh, he's an apostate. Yeah, I see it too. Oh, that's what education. He said, that's what education will get you. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I can play it if you want to hear it for real.
We believe you. I mean, is very rough around the edges. He's a good brother, does a lot for the friends, but he's sometimes I don't think he quite grasps exactly what's coming at him. So sometimes he'll make, misjudgment. He's got that.
Yeah, I mean, they both agreed that at that moment I was an apostate. Mm-hmm. And
they're probably not used to people coming up with things that they're not familiar with. I'm trying to
you're fine.
Soften the blow a little bit for them, because they're kind of limited. Both of those brothers are kind of limited.
Well, I understand that.
And let's just say the roles are reversed for a moment. No, I'm just going to throw this at you.
Okay.
You tell me if I'm way off. I'm not going to be offended.
Okay.
Because, sometimes, you can talk to my wife. But there's sometimes that I'm way off, right? So
Okay.
actually, he thinks I'm way off in my love for college basketball teams.